Yo, what's going on, Headliner Nation? It's your boy, The Doc, and we are back for the Week 13 Injury Update Show, Thanksgiving Edition Injury Update Show. We're not actually going to talk about the Thanksgiving games. I'm recording this on Thanksgiving, which probably means that Jake owes me more money this week, but I digress. You guys know the deal. Each and every week, I, an actual doctor, go through the NFL slate, tell you about all the injuries that you need to know about, and we will be skipping those Thursday games because honestly, not much has happened in them so far from an injury perspective, and the last game is actually being played as I record this. But there are other games that we need to talk about, so let's jump into it. First up, let's talk about Brock Purdy and his right shoulder soreness. Now, I said last week that I was suspicious of Brock Purdy's shoulder injury because he was not throwing in practice. Turns out those suspicions were warranted. Who would have guessed that the team that called Christian McCaffrey's Achilles tendonitis soreness prior to him missing 9 weeks of the season would also be downplaying what's going on with their star quarterback's shoulder issue? Certainly not me. Reports are that Purdy is not having as much pain when throwing this week, but he's also not thrown a lot in practice as of this recording. We're hoping he shows a little bit more in practice in the open session on Friday or Saturday, but I think he's closer than he was last week to playing, but his availability will come down to the wire again, so just make sure that you have a backup in place. Next up, we got quarterback Baker Mayfield for the Bucs. Now, he had a stinger, and this looked worse than it ended up being. He was kind of hit awkwardly before grabbing the right side of his neck after a fumble on a botched handoff. He left the game, but did return, so that's a good thing for his outlook for this week. But typically when a stinger occurs, the nerve root of the neck is compressed, causing shooting pain down from that nerve into the shoulder, into the neck, and sometimes even down into the arm itself. Now, these can be very serious injuries, but it sounds like Baker Mayfield's was not that serious. He was able to return. The symptoms likely went away very quickly. So I think there's a pretty good chance that we will see him again this week, and he shouldn't really have any limitations from this issue going forward. Let's talk about some wide receivers next, and we've got Josh Downs with the Colts. Now, he was taken down hard after making a catch, and his right arm got kind of rolled up under his own body. Now, he was able to return in the game, but Coach Shane Steichen has come out and said that it would be tough for him to be able to play this week. I'd suspect, based on the mechanism of this injury, that this is likely an AC sprain. AC just stands for acromioclavicular, and it's where the clavicle attaches to the shoulder. So where those two bones meet, that's your AC joint. Now, the ligaments that keep those two bones together can easily be sprained when you land hard on your shoulder. And with enough direct impact, they could even be torn completely. Now, I don't think that's what happened in this case. Most likely they just got overstretched, which would be a grade 1 injury. And I would think that he would be able to return in the next week or two, but this week seems pretty unlikely for Josh Downs. Let's go to the running back position. And first up, it's got to be J.K. Dobbins, dealing with a left MCL sprain. Now, Dobbins has had arguably the best return to form of any player that I've ever seen with an Achilles rupture, but this is his knee, and it's the same knee that's given him problems in the past with the ACL tear, with the meniscus injury, with the LCL injury, all of those happening to this left knee. This left side really has been a problem for J.K. Dobbins throughout his NFL career thus far, but this was likely going to happen to any player regardless of their history based on how the tackle happened. The first guy had him kind of pinned down. He was laying on his back. Another guy came in and pinned his foot down, and his knee just kind of got wishboned over the first tackler, which did put a lot of stress on the MCL, which sits on the inside of his knee. Now, normal return to play for an MCL injury is about 2 to 4 weeks if it's a low-grade injury, but this could linger even longer than that given his history and the team's current record. If they're able to keep putting wins together without him, it could be a little while before we see J.K. Dobbins. So Gus Edwards going to get a chance to be the bell cow for at least a week or two. But I do think that we see Kamani Vidal come in and be a change of pace back, and they will see what they have with him. He's kind of a speed pass catching hybrid. So we'll see if they use him for more of those explosive plays that we saw from J.K. Dobbins. Another running back with some knee injury history that's dealing with an issue right now is Breece Hall with the Jets. Now, it's pretty rare that I'm talking about any players coming back injured from their bye week, but apparently he got nicked up in week 11 prior to getting that week off, missed practice on Wednesday. And given his history, every injury involving Breece Hall's knee is going to be something that you're going to pay attention to. He did get a limited practice in on Thursday, so he's at least trending in the right direction, but it's just a good reminder, even if he plays or doesn't play, that Braylon Allen needs to be rostered in basically every single league heading into the fantasy playoffs. Again, we'll see what happens with Breece Hall. Sounds like it's a pretty minor issue, but given his history, we're keeping an eye on it. Let's move along to the Commanders' backfield, and they've got not one but two injuries to talk about. First up, Austin Eckler. Let's just go ahead and rule him out this week. He's got a concussion. He was knocked out cold. It's his second concussion this season, fourth actually since 2018. So he's starting to rack up the concussions in his NFL career, but highly doubt that we see Austin Eckler coming out of a very serious concussion and head injury. With it being a second one this year, I just really would be surprised if he is able to play this week. And then Brian Robinson Jr. got rolled up on, and honestly, I'm surprised to see him practicing this week already because it looked pretty bad by the way he got rolled up. His ankle kind of got twisted behind him as a guy was tackling him. And usually when you see that, you see a high ankle sprain, but it sounds like he may have a very mild sprain if he's able to practice. Either way, I expect we see a fair share of Jeremy McNichols this week, who's been averaging 4.9 yards per carry in a limited fashion in terms of opportunities. So we'll see if he can get more work this week. I'm not really expecting a great week from Brian Robinson Jr. unless he's able to find the end zone in a short yardage situation. Just don't know how much juice he's going to have on that banged up ankle. And finally, we got a guy that's been teasing us the last few weeks, and that's Isaiah Pacheco with the Chiefs. Now, all indications are he is returning this week, barring any setbacks. And while I do think that it's a good thing that he's able to play, I'll be surprised if they give him a full workload in his first week back from that fibula fracture. We'll keep an eye on it, see what he does this first week. Probably not running to throw him in my lineups unless I absolutely have to. Still think that Kareem Hunt going to get the bulk of the carries for the Chiefs, but it's good to see Pacheco back and able to contribute in some capacity. Hopefully over the next few weeks, he can get ramped back up to speed just in time for your fantasy playoffs. All right, guys, that's it for this week's injury show. If there's anybody I missed, let me know in the comments down below. I try to answer as many of those as I can. Of course, want to thank our friends over at Underdog. Use the code Headliners when you sign up. Get up to $1,000 bonus cash on your first deposit. If your fantasy season's over, why don't you go over to Underdog, place some bets, and still be involved in the action each and every Sunday. There are some higher and lowers in there. It's a lot of fun, and it's definitely one of the best ways to fill in that time if you're already basically done with fantasy. I hate to say that. Hopefully you guys are all still competing for championships, but if you're not, or if you are, either way, make sure that you're also playing on Underdog with the fantasy headliners. But hopefully you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. I appreciate you guys at Headliner Nation. I am truly thankful for you guys. I know the rest of the team is incredibly thankful for you guys as well. Hopefully you have a great weekend with your families, and we'll see you next time.
Analytics off the chain, all the channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game.